Hello, I'm Kendra Tankersley Davis, an adjunct professor at Vanguard University, and welcome to another installation of Smart Mama Safe Kids. Today, we're going to talk about teens. We all have had kids, or most of us have had kids. At minimum, we've all been around kids. And so it's important to understand and be honest with ourselves that sometimes we may not understand their behaviors and they might drive us a little crazy. But it's a good crazy. I like this cartoon a lot that I found, and it says there's this woman going to the doctor and she's frazzled and distressed and she thinks something's wrong and she says, I don't know what's going on with me, and the doctor simply says, I'm afraid what you have is known as children. When we define adolescence in particular, we're talking about a period in a child's life that they are developing into adulthood. They are going through puberty. They are learning about themselves. They are figuring out who they're going to be. It's basically a process of them growing up. It's a stage of development. It's a change in language, culture, and development and maturity. I like to do this comparison because it's what we see and what is actually happening. I am currently the parent of a young adult, so I've been through this stage and I can remember, and we're kind of still in it, the know-it-all stage. She knows everything. But the reality of that is she's really learning. They sometimes can be annoying, but the truth is they're just growing and developing into who they're going to be. It appears that they might be self-centered, but they're really just evolving. They do some immature things, but they're really just social beings, and they're learning how to connect with the world around them. They can be temperamental, but really they're just being adventurous and figuring things out in their world. They are easily influenced, but is it easily influenced, or are they optimistic about the possibilities of what could be? They are entitled, or are they just developing independent skills? They can push boundaries, but are they really just searching for themselves? Questions we need to ask and to help us get a different perspective. This is just a brief overview of the stages of adolescence. We have early adolescence, which is ages 10 to 13, and that's when we start seeing that growth spurt. The body is changing. We have middle adolescence, 14 to 17. Again, their bodies are continuing to change, but they start having interest in romantic relationships and exploring their identity. Their need for more independence come through. And we have late adolescence, which is 18 to 21. This is the phase I'm in now with my daughter, where physical development is completed. They do have better decision-making abilities. They're gaining the ability to think big picture, and they have increased impulse control. They're better at reviewing the big picture. They're also starting to really focus on and understand what their morals and their values are going to be. They're focused on their future and they start to stabilize in their social circles and who they want to engage with. The world of the teen today is quite different than the world you and I may have grown up in. Their language is different. My daughter will say to me, we were looking at a university that I loved, and she says to me, I don't like the vibe here. And I said, what is a vibe? Or she'll say, oh, mommy, we're going to go to this concert. I hope I get some merch. And I was like, what is merch? Merchandise. Where I would say, oh, I'd like to get a t-shirt. She wants to get merch. Their language is just different. Their music, the videos they listen to, the movies they see, the video games, they're different to some degree. They can be over-sexualized. They can be violence. They can glorify substance use. They demean women. There's racial slurs that some kids today don't identify as a negative. There's an increase in profanity, certainly when I was growing up. Then they're dealing with this thing called social media. It is useful. Social media has its negatives and its positives. It's a useful tool. If I'm cooking something and I want to look up a recipe, I can look at social media and get it very quickly. But it also connects people. It can connect people, but it connects people. It can connect us to family and friends around the world. My daughter's studying abroad, and we use social media to talk all the time. But it also can connect you to an outside world that is unsafe and that is dangerous. It's resourceful. It gives us rapid information, but it can also be intrusive. It gives us access to things we may not necessarily need at that immediate time, and it also can be very dangerous. It's not hopeless. I know sometimes we look at the news and we see what's going on in our world today, and it can truly seem like it's overwhelming and challenging, and that we're facing odds that we can't do a lot about. I really want to use this time we have together to focus on what you can do. Think about your parenting styles or your caregiver styles. Are you always the enforcer and enforcing the rules? Are you fun, but are you too fun as the parent? Are you friendly, but are you too friendly? Are you really listening when they talk? And are you involved in their life? Do you know your child's friends and their social circle? I'm telling you, knowing your child's friends, who they engage with, who they hang out with, can tell you a lot about what's going on in the world with your child. Do you know their friends' parents? We shouldn't be just dropping our kids off or allowing our kids to go to homes where we don't know the adults in the home and we don't know if the adult is in the home. We need to get more involved in understanding what's happening with our children. Are we friends with our kids, but are we too friendly? Are we so busy trying to be the cool parent and the well-liked parent that we're not establishing the structure that is needed? And I know that we're all busy because we are. We have jobs and we have all types of things that we might be involved in doing. But we've got to show interest in our children and what they're doing. And please know, it's not just your children, it's the children in our lives. We need to know what activities are involved in. How many games can you possibly try your best to get to? Are you judgmental? This is such a key and crucial question because oftentimes as parents we are. We judge what our kids are doing and we may say statements that we don't want to make. I challenge you to really think about this within yourself, being judgmental simply because. Traffickers don't judge, drug dealers don't judge. They welcome whatever your child is bringing, whether they agree with it or not. And being non-judgmental doesn't mean that you just accept everything that they do and that you're okay with everything that they do. What it truly means is that you are open to listening, that you're open to being present and having conversations, that you are understanding of what they are trying to share with you, and that you are present. And when you have that and when you're there, it's more than okay to share with your child what you agree with and what you don't. But it's more important to come to a common ground, something where you compromise and how you can work better together to resolve whatever the situation is. We have to be open to listening. How do your values, your beliefs, your faith, and your dreams for your child impact your relationship with your child? That is key, and that's where that judgment comes in. Think about it, because your values may not be theirs. We have a generation of young people now who are very proactive, they're very socially conscious, and they're not afraid to share their opinion and speak and take action and do something about change that they want to see. It becomes important that we are open to that communication with our child, that we are feeding them how proud we are of their abilities to want to make the world a better place or to make changes. And we're also okay to say, this is not something I necessarily agree with, but I'm still here, I'm still present, and again, let's compromise. Understand this, your presence is powerful. When you are present in your child's life, you are the greatest protection your child has. Trust me, I've worked in the area of human trafficking for over 15 years. I've worked with children and families for over 17. And the one thing I've learned for sure is if that trafficker, labor or sex, sees that there is some adult who is present and engaging in your child's life, they want nothing to do with that child. If that drug dealer sees that, they don't want to tap your child because that means it's going to be too hard for them to make that connection. Your presence is powerful. When people see that you're around, they understand that someone is around, and that's important. When you are present, you are the greatest deterrent your child has. The proof is in the studies. When we look at a few studies here, children with involved parents also have enhanced skills for regulating their emotions and feel negative emotions less often. You're empowering your child to be able to understand and regulate their own emotions while also expressing them in an appropriate manner. This makes them less vulnerable to traffickers, to drug dealers, and to others who might want to harm them or use them, manipulate. It builds sort of a wall of protection. Another study, children with involved parents have lower rates of substance use and delinquent acts compared to kids whose parents are uninvolved. Again, that kid knows that you're present. They know that you're around, so it makes them less likely to do things they shouldn't be doing. Parent involvement in their child's education improves social functioning. They have better peer engagement and have more advanced social skills. How many parent-teacher conferences do you attend? How many back-to-school nights do you attend? Make that a priority. I can remember in high school, when my daughter was in high school, she told me, "Why do you keep coming to these?" It was parent-teacher conference. And I said, "Because I love you enough to be present. I love you enough to know who your teacher is and to know what's going on in your class so that I can be whatever support I can be." The proof is in the numbers. The CDC reports suicide is the second leading cause of deaths for adolescents between 15 and 19. Between 2007 and 2018, the rate of suicide for ages 10 to 24 increased. Family psychologist conflicts have been linked to suicide, so conflicts within family. And of course, we're all aware of recent studies that have come out in reference to the pandemic. We have to remember suicide is still out there. And again, your child needs a safe person to talk to who is going to be supportive and non-judgmental, yet create structure. Again, you matter. What's your superpower? And here's what I mean by that. As I become an adult, I've learned that my mother's superpower was French fries. It sounds menial, but it was. My mom made French fries from scratch. My mom should own stock in Idaho potatoes because she made a lot of them, but my friends loved them. So on the weekends or after school, my house was the house to hang out at because my mom would make French fries. And what I didn't realize as a kid growing up is that provided her the ability to listen. It provided her the opportunity to be present. She knew my friends. She knew their parents. She knew what was going on in my life as well as in theirs. All of that over French fries. I wasn't out getting in trouble. I never really did anything that I shouldn't have been doing. My sister and I both, because my mom utilized her superpowers. Take a minute to see what's yours. Are you funny? Do you know how to play video games? Are you cool with music? What is your superpower that you have that can make you more present in your child's life? I think my superpower is I like to crack like really kind of silly jokes that my daughter thinks is super corny, or I'll take songs that I don't deem appropriate. I know she's going to hear them wherever she goes, but I change the lyrics. And I make the lyrics something silly, and she takes that back and she took it to her friends. And I just made my home available. Those were my superpowers. Important to remember from Mother Teresa. You will teach them to fly, but they will not fly your flight. You will teach them to dream, but they will not dream your dream. You will teach them to live, but they will not live your life. Nevertheless, in every flight, in every life, in every dream, the print of the way you taught will always remain. As we see our children, especially through adolescence, those teenage years are so fragile, and we're going to see them make mistakes, and we're going to see them explore and change and grow, and they will do differently. I can guarantee you they will do things differently than we do. Understand that the foundation that you have created, that you have developed, the structure that you have provided will always remain. And that is the gift you want to give your children. Your presence, they will remember that you were there at that football game, at that dance recital, at that spelling bee, at that cheer competition, that you showed up at every or as many parent-teacher conferences as you could. They will remember that. And in closing, I would like to leave you with this from the great author Toni Morrison. I watched an interview with her years ago on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and she asked this question that was so critical to me. And the question was, do your eyes light up when your child enters the room? I'd like you throughout the course of your day to think about that. What is your response when your child enters the room? Are you buried in your phone? Are you talking on the phone? Are you busy with the day-to-day things that we do? I want you to understand the importance of being present and your eyes lighting up when your child enters the room. Because I can assure you, after all my years of working with children, when they walk into the room or the presence of a trafficker, their eyes light up. When they walk in the presence of a sex buyer or a drug dealer or a gang member or any of the things that we may not want our child to engage in, their eyes light up when they enter the room. So my preference and your preference is that yours do. Take that 2 seconds to really give them your attention. When they walk in the room, ask them how their day was. Crack a joke. Acknowledge their greatness, something amazing about them. And that lets them know how much you care. Be consistent in that and consistent in your structure. And above all else, remember your importance. And remember that the foundation you set will always remain. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I hope you have the most amazing rest of the day. And should you need additional information, please feel free to reach out to Vanguard University, our Global Center for Women in Justice. We have podcasts on there, lots of information that may help you and support you. And we're happy to become part of your village in raising your child. Thank you for your time.